Good Thursday morning, Michael Clark with BAMWX.com with your latest long-range outlook and a realistic look on the long-range pattern. What is the data saying? What is our thought process from a realistic standpoint? I tell you what, here recently I have seen more social media pandemonium and hype in the weather world than I've ever seen. I've been doing this for about 14 years, and it is the misinformation, the misguided postings, it is out of control. So make sure if you want level-headed, expert, calm discussions about weather patterns, you come here. Okay. If you want hypey graphics and in-your-face wildness, which a lot of people do, you won't find that here. But I will give you a level-headed analysis. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right. I'll let you know that we've posted a video. This is the latest 10-day chunk average of the ensemble mean for the December forecast from the CFSV2, that's NOAA's flagship subseasonal model, forecasts months out ahead of time. Here's the big thing that I want to talk about. I want to look at really this primarily in here, the south and the south and east, for the risks of continuations of milder shots of air and what that might do to the energy demand for the gas-weighted heating degree demand folks, the natural gas markets and that kind of thing. That's going to matter. I think that winter is certainly on the table for the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the interior Northeast. And listen, even normal conditions in December. If you are anywhere north of this line, normal to below normal conditions in December, that's wintry. December is traditionally a wintry month, if you will. It's cold, right? But I have concerns for bigger storm systems to come up and along and track right through here like this and pump up warmth out ahead of it. We call it storm-induced warmth. And in patterns like this, it's common, especially if we're going to have one every 5 to 7 days. You're going to pump out warm air out ahead of it, and you're going to dump cold air behind it. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be left with a battle zone in between. And the battle zone is probably going to be somewhere in here for the potential of, and maybe even back up and through here, the potential of winter storms and snowfall. Okay. I don't hate the way this map looks. Its precipitation outlook makes perfect sense with what I'm saying. Okay. Is the storm track is probably going to come through here like this, in some way, shape, or form. I think there can be moisture here. There could maybe even be a few deep south heavy rain events like we are seeing right now in Texas and Missouri, Arkansas. I'll show you in just a moment. But the focal point for colder air and moisture to offer up winter in December is going to be in the area depicted here by the CFS. So I'm going to dive into the noise for that. I'm going to talk to you about that today. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share the video with a friend, post it to your page, tweet it, exit, whatever you guys do. We appreciate the shares and the love there. We'll go over here to Clarity Platform real quick, which is our platform we use for all of our client information our forward-facing information to our customers, where they get our forecasts. They get a really neat software that comes with it. But this is what I was talking about right now. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorm activity going on across Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas into Missouri, southern Illinois. And when you look at this, some of these storms today could be on the stronger side. There is a marginal risk for some thunderstorms to be severe down here across the deep south. Tomorrow, the outlook extends east a little bit. Still Oklahoma, Texas. Day 3, no severe weather, but heavy rain being possible. In fact, we look at the 3-day rainfall forecast here throughout the area, and you can see locally how there will be some heavy rain in the picture for many states, for Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, down through Texas. A busy pattern. In fact, the 7-day rainfall forecast, which updates 4 times a day in Clarity, gets you a full CONUS view. You can zoom in, interrogate, click around. But a lot of rain in Texas here, and eastern Oklahoma, and portions of Arkansas down through southern Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, and Tennessee. It is a busy pattern. What about the winter pattern? Well, it's there. It's further north into Canada. All right, we have some snow in the forecast up there in the prairies, further north into the Great Lakes, into there's some suggestions coming, but it's not quite ready yet, and that's what I really want to talk to you about today as we go further into the forecast video. We'll use the Tropical Tidbits website, the ECMWF, the AI model. And I want to show you a couple things. The first thing I want to draw your attention to for the long-term pattern analysis is the North Pacific. Here in the Bering Sea, the chain of the Aleutian Islands here. What we're watching is, I want you to look at the chain of low pressure systems, the storms that go through here. Okay, that's a big one there, right? And I want you to watch, there's by the way, there's one right there, okay? And you keep going. All right, there's another one. And we keep going out further. There's another one there. Multiple storms that want to come through the North Pacific. Okay, that is an indication down the road that December will have a very active pattern, which I showed you. I showed you that map. I showed you the above normal precip map. Okay, we agree with this, by the way. There's support with that looking into the Pacific. Now, let's take a look at this closer to home. We'll go to our synoptic weather website, which is our website, by the way. And we'll pull this over here, and we can talk about this as it pertains to weather, especially getting into the holiday week, right? There's your snowfall outlook the next 2 weeks, but that's not really what I want to focus on. I want to focus on primarily what it's got here for the indication of weather, okay? I'm going to move this here so I can play with that. But we'll see this coming into this weekend. We've got the rain, just talked about that, heavy rain across the deep south. Another storm system there getting into early next week. I'll offer up some more rain across the Ohio Valley, the deep south as well. This is paused here Monday night, 7 p.m. Getting out into Tuesday morning, you're waking up to rain across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. And then there's your low pressure center that'll offer up snow in the northern plains. We talked about towards day 7. This is Tuesday of next week. That'll offer up snow and a shot of cold air. All right. Now, when you're traveling Wednesday, that big storm will have exited for the most part. Okay. So Wednesday being the busiest travel day of the year, the biggest concerns you're going to have is probably up around the Great Lakes and into the interior Northeast Wednesday, 7 p.m. next week. Nonetheless, it's a big shot of cold air comes down, and Thanksgiving's probably going to feel more like winter. Okay, this is Wednesday night, and this is getting into Thursday morning as you wake up. These are actual air temperatures on Thanksgiving in the 20s and the teens across the Ohio Valley Midwest. So this is our first plunge of winter-like air with this pattern. And you can see what it does seep into here Black Friday, Friday morning. You can see that the cold, a lot of folks are below freezing. Big chunk of the country, all the way down to Atlanta almost, you're below freezing there. So it certainly gets cold. Look at next Saturday. These are actual air temperatures, the 29th. It's very, very cold. Now, I'll get back to the storm system picture. There's the Arctic high that comes through. Okay, another storm system starts to develop here off the coast, off the east side of the Rockies. And we think a lot of these start to do that this year. They start to do one of these, as I've just mentioned multiple times. But watch the storm system develop. This is getting out there, by the way. This is out there, but it's a good indication or a good potential idea of what these storms can do with another shot of colder air behind it. But you see multiple indications of storms, really probably about every 3 to 4 days right now in the modeling. And it's going to offer up the potential for snow and a very active pattern here, and shots of cold. But ahead of these storms, you're going to pump up warmth, and cold's going to come in on the backside of them. All right, that's going to be the theme. There's going to be a lot of storm-induced warmth ahead of these and cold dumping in behind them. I want to make sure we're very clear on that for sure. Rainfall totals, you can see just how active that pattern is. All right, and where that low pressure tracks here over the next 2 weeks. Now, as we get into December, what may start to happen is this shifts northward a little bit. A lot of this main activity in terms of the amount of rainfall may come north a little bit. And then with having the cold air mix in, your above normal precipitation pattern may likely be more focused here. It doesn't mean it doesn't rain in the deep south and the southeast, but I still think that potentially it might be a little bit drier than normal. Now, the wild card to that is how active the North Pacific is. The North Pacific is very active, and that can be an indication that can continue even into the deep south. So if there's a forecast risk for potentially it not being correct, it would be down in the deep south and the southeast due to the activity in the North Pacific. The CFS might be missing that. I don't believe it changes the storm-induced warmth, the cold that comes behind it, and the multiple episodes of winter we think that are possible. Irregardless. Okay. So we can see that here. It's very clear. I'm going to show it to you one more time. Again, courtesy Tropical Tidbits. I'm going to show you the temperature departures and when that cold really arrives. You can see it arriving. In my last video, it's Wednesday of next week. It's Thanksgiving week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay, Sunday. It's cold next week. And then there's your storm. See how it pumps up the warmth out ahead? Cold comes behind it, and we possibly do it again at the end of the period. So it's one of those things. All right, now let's talk about the extended outlook here using the latest European weeklies in the thought process. Extended really doesn't change. The biggest thing I wanted to make sure I communicated with you was the eastern and southeastern warmth risks, okay? And that will have a play on the HDDs. The HDDs are the gas-weighted heating degree days that we monitor for our energy clients. The latest run of the overnight GEFS indicates we're above 10 and 30-year normals out into December, which means cold. But the EPS, which is the European ensemble, is a little bit different, okay? If you look at its suggestion, it's struggling to take those HDDs above normal because of the eastern and southeastern warmth. So they drop below 10 and 30-year normals. So that's something, again, that I just want to make sure I keep in mind. Now, the European weeklies, let's take you out to week 2, okay? Because here's week 2, and here's what we have. What you have here in this particular setup is the blocking is starting to establish itself, but we're still noticing you're dealing with southeastern warmth there from the ridge, okay? You're still dealing with that. You've got the trough coming through. It'll pull through. The blocking starts to potentially become more established, all right? Now, with that said, let's turn this drawing tool off. Watch what happens getting into week 3. Okay, there's week 3. Still note, we've got the horseshoe block setting up, a deep trough. The tropospheric vortex is over the Hudson Bay. There's a cold supply for storms to come through. So when storms run through the area like this, okay, they're going to have the potential, again, to tap into cold for there to be snow and ice mixed in with this, but warmth south and east of it. There's your horseshoe style block setting up, okay? A little bit of a negative, more neutral NAO here, but definitely more of a negative EPO, negative WPO, positive PNA, more of a Pacific-driven pattern for winter in this particular setup here, okay? That's week 3. Here, we'll go out to week 4. See how we're still dealing with southern ridge positive heights, okay? I'm not saying it's a torch. I'm not saying it's cold either, though. Okay, we're keeping that trough in the Great Lakes in the Northeast all the way out through the end of December. But what it's doing to that is it will cause the potential for there to be some warmer risks to the forecast, especially from a heating demand standpoint. There's week 2. Here's week 3. Okay, see what I'm talking about? South and east warmth. Go into week 4. Again, still a good pattern for December. You look at the forecast for December as a whole. From the EPS, it's a little bit colder than the American CFS model. However, I still see this as a risk for warmer conditions out ahead of storm systems. All right, that's the temperature forecast from the EPS Weekly. I don't really have a reason to disagree with that. I want to show you one other thing. It's precipitation anomaly forecast. Okay, note how it does have the wetter southern U.S. Indications. We may tend to side with that a little more if the North Pacific pattern continues to remain active. Then we've got an active pattern really for much of the U.S. As that storm tracks through there, that's probably the one we're going to want to weigh towards in that regard, if you ask me. So with that said, we'll go back over to Clarity. We do have winter storm potential. We're talking about November 30th through December 2nd. That's in Clarity. We're going to keep you posted about that. That's where we believe that's at. And then we also have our long range section with our latest week 3 and 4 outlook that was just updated yesterday. Again, my concern is in the deep south and the southeast of above normal temperatures. And this might even be a little too cold, too far south potentially. But nonetheless, we'll keep you posted on that. We believe that the best period for winter is December 5th through the 20th right now. Beyond that, we don't want to get too far out just yet to see what we're dealing with. I think there's a good period of good winter-like weather and a few storm systems to track the 5th through the 20th of December. We'll keep you posted. Subscribe to the channel. If you got questions, holler at us. Share it with a friend. We love to see folks share it. And again, there's the 3 to 4 week outlook and for precip as well, where we expect the pattern to remain active. These are our official product maps. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.